Just a few. Okay, so just if you have any questions while Sahil is presenting, you can please put it in the chat box or the question answer box you can see in the screen below. And after his presentation, whoever wants to speak to Sahil directly, please raise the hand and we will connect you to him directly. So now, without further ado, Sahil, please take it over from here.
Thank you, Farzana. Thank you, Coach Middle East, for this wonderful opportunity. And thank you, all of you, for joining in on this wonderful Saturday, May 29th. I still can't believe it's the 29th of May. We've almost finished 5 months of 2021. Can you imagine? We're almost halfway there.
Seriously, it's just
Crazy.
yes.
Okay,
So
so allow me to share my screen. One moment, please. All right, so Farzana, can you just confirm you see my slide?
yes, I can see your slide.
Excellent. So today we're going to talk about breaking free, a guide to decluttering your life. So, how many of you feel like this? Just put it in the chat box. I do, or whatever comes to your mind in the chat box. I want to keep this session interactive, so feel free to type in your comments while we're going along. This was, it's like your family's pulling you, your work is pulling you, yourself, your mind is pulling you, the community's pulling you, just being pulled in all directions. And this is, it's like someone tied a rope to each of your limbs and tied those ropes to a horse, and all four horses are going in opposite directions, right? And you're like, oh my goodness, how can I handle all of this? But the fear is, in many cases, you feel alone. You feel like you can't talk to others about it. And why? Because you have the fear of being judged. Maybe someone will think, oh, look at him or her, they're so weak, or they're not capable. And all these things and all these fears are coming into our minds. And that was me, back before 2016. I was being pulled in all directions and I had no one to speak to, no avenues to go down. So I was internalizing everything. And I'm not sure if you're aware, but as you internalize everything, it's that energy is stuck. It's just rotating inside of your body and causing damage. And I was facing all sorts of mental as well as physical health issues. All that changed in the spring of 2016. I was on a trip and I was going to the magical island of Ibiza, and I was there with 7 other entrepreneurs. And as we're waiting at Barcelona airport at the gate, waiting to board our next flight, I turned to one of my friends and I say, Vinny, how can we make this trip more magical? And we both agreed on something which we shared with the rest of the group, and everyone agreed. And that was no judgment. All of a sudden, it's like this huge weight was lifted off my shoulders. I didn't have to pretend to be anyone else. I didn't have to impress anyone. I could just be me. Now, the next 4 days were filled with joy that was euphoric. And just to give you one example, we were at a restaurant one evening called Leo, and this is where they have live entertainment while you dine. So our table happened to be right next to the stage. And during one of the acts, a lady, she looks at me and she points and she goes, come up. Now, the previous me, even though I love to dance, I love music, I would have been afraid of judgment. I would have looked the other way. I would have shrunk back in my chair. Or what many of us do nowadays is I pick up my phone and pretend to be on the phone and pretend to be busy, right? But no, I said, no judgment. And I just went. And it was amazing. It was liberating. And so that's how I enjoyed the remainder of the trip. And as I'm flying back on Emirates to Dubai, I said to myself, I need to write these things down because I want to share with my wife. As I started to write, tears started trickling down my face. And I'm thinking to myself, Saahil, what's going on? And I realized that I'd been wearing so many masks for so long, especially the mask of must be seen as Mr. Nice Guy. So in pleasing everyone else, I was ignoring me, and to the extent where it was damaging my health. I said, no more. No more. I can't recognize myself anymore. I need to go back to me. I need to become my authentic self. And that's when I started to identify the clutter in my life that was holding me back. Now, what is clutter? I just want to share with you my definition. Clutter is nothing more than shunned confrontations. I was shunning confrontations with people, with myself, with my health, and everything around. And in that, I created, how do you explain what clutter is? I'm going to get to that in a second, but I realized that the only way out of this is to make myself the number one priority. Now, you might say that's selfish. You were so giving before, now you're just thinking about yourself. But no, if my cup is overflowing, I have more to give to others. If my cup is empty, which is how I was feeling, what do I have to give? And no matter how hard I try, I'm so empty, I'm putting so much pressure and strain on myself that's leading to a lot of anxiety. But I said by focusing on me and removing this clutter in my life, I can then give to my family, to my community, to my work, to everything around me. And that sounded like a much better proposition. So again, that's when I started to identify the clutter, right? And what is clutter? If I had to show it in an image, this is how I best describe it. For any of you that are as old as me or older, you'll know that in those old prison movies, they used to wrap these around the prisoners, right? The ball and chain. And this was to prevent them from escaping because there was this heavy weight wrapped around their leg. Even though we're not in prison right now, we have lots of these wrapped around our leg right now. These are things that are unresolved issues, the clutter that's holding us back. And as a mountaineer, I can tell you, if I carry excess weight, it's going to be harder to get up to the top of the mountain, and it's going to take longer. And the chance of me getting to the summit are going to be significantly less. So think about it. If you want to succeed in life, however you define success, whether it's with wealth, whether it's health, whether it's relationships, or a combination of all three, how do you expect to get there if you're carrying this excess weight with you wrapped around your legs? It's so much harder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you some tools. But what are the results that you can expect to get as you remove the clutter from your life? You're going to get more time to pursue your passion and priorities. You're going to have greater focus and awareness in all areas of your life. You're going to create stronger and deeper relationships with everyone that matters to you. You're going to start each day high on energy and very clear on purpose. And finally, you're going to live life with love rather than fear. So I'm going to share with you my framework, and I'm going to take you through it one step at a time. But essentially, and for any of you that do archery or know of archery, this is like a bullseye, right? We're going to start with decluttering the mind, then which is the internal, it's the self, and then the body, which is still the self. So once we've worked on the mental and physical, then we're going to move to the external, which is decluttering people, and then finally we're going to get to the material world. And what does that allow you to do? That allows you to break free and then scale your summit faster. So let's start with decluttering the mind. Now, before we get there, for any of you who remember Alice in Wonderland, I'm going to share with you a short clip and then I'll start from there.
But I just wanted to ask you which way I ought to go.
Well, that depends. And where you want to get to?
Oh, it really doesn't matter. As long as I...
It really doesn't matter which way you go.
So what I absolutely love about this clip, it reminds me of most people I come across when I'm coaching them. They all say they want to be successful. And then I go, great. What does success mean? And they go, I haven't quite thought about that. Ooh, I want to be rich. And I go, great. What does rich mean? And so they haven't really defined where or what they want to do. So my first request to each and every one of you is start to have an idea where you want to go. Because if you don't know where you want to go, how do you know when you get there? And we certainly don't want to end up like Alice, where we just say, we're going to keep walking and hopefully we'll get somewhere. So in the book that Farzana mentioned earlier, I covered these 5 topics in decluttering the mind, but the one I'm going to focus in on today is on the morning routine. So I'm not sure about all of you, but my typical day looked like this. It looked like I was just running. I didn't know where I was going. And I just felt like I was just constantly running, right? I used to wake up, get the kids up, get them ready, drop them to school, come back, exercise, breakfast, get ready, get to the office, work, very quick lunch, on my desk or while I'm on the phone or something, work, get home just in time to put the kids to bed, have some dinner, spend a little time with the wife and perhaps with family or friends, and then go to bed. Sound familiar? Where was me time? Where was time to think? How can I expect to be successful if I've not given enough time and invested in myself? And that's when the light bulb went off and I said, Saahil, what are you doing? You have to take off time for yourself. And I said, okay, I'm going to take off some time in the evening because I'm already getting up at 6:15 for the kids. I'm not going to wake up earlier. But you know what the evening is? Sometimes things happen. A friend calls you, a client's in town, there's a family affair, something or the other. So I couldn't be consistent by allocating time on a regular basis in the evening. So I said, okay, evening doesn't work. Okay, fine. Let me try during the day. That didn't work out too well either. In the office, sometimes a meeting pops up, a staff member comes in and says, we got to work on this. A client comes to town. It just was inconsistent. So I said, Saahil, there only is one option. You're going to have to wake up earlier. And you're going to have to dedicate that one time of the day to yourself every single morning. And that's what I did. I started waking up 1 hour before the rest of the house woke up. And it changed my life because I had 1 hour to myself every single morning. Now, let me take you through what I do each morning. But before I do, I want to share this lovely quote, which is the first hour of the morning is the rudder for the day. I don't know about you, but if my morning started off bad, maybe I woke up and I'm tired, or the kids were just, being kids, and they're like, we don't want to wake up, and and I'm trying to get them out of bed for school. We've all had those mornings. My whole day was ruined. I read something in the morning. I read some news about some bomb blast somewhere, or this many people died. It took me down, and it took me the whole day to get back up, if at all. So how you start your morning is going to affect the rest of your day. And I can tell you for me, as an example, is that when I have a bad start, I'm not a good person. It affects my relationship with people. It affects my productivity at work and so forth. So before I share my morning routine, I'm going to tell you two things which are big no-nos. The first one, do not hit that button snooze. Okay, I know many of you are guilty. I was guilty as charged. Okay, but here's the thing. And when someone pointed this out to me, I said, oh my goodness, this is so true. What am I doing? When you hit snooze, that's your first action of the day. So the very first thing you did was snooze. Guess what your subconscious mind is thinking? I'm a snoozer. Is that how you want to be known for the rest of the day? Is that how you want to be known when you have to get to an important task at work and then you just go, you know what, I'll just do it later. I'm a snoozer. No, you're a go-getter. You want to get things done. Do not hit that button snooze. You hear the alarm, get up and go. Okay, the second no-no, and I was guilty as charged as well, this is off limits. This is off limits until you have finished your morning routine. And so is the TV, and so is the newspaper. And don't be sneaky and say, well, what about my tablet? No, none of those things, okay? Why? Because imagine if you read something you don't like, a client sends you a message, sorry, the deal's not going through. Someone says, we're going to cancel our contract. Someone says, I hate you, you're an awful parent, or you suck as a friend. Or someone calls you, you read something in the news that takes you down. Again, why do you want to start your day like that? You want to start your day on a high, energized. Because when you're high with strong energy, even if you hear negative news afterwards, it might knock you down a little bit, but it's not going to knock you out. So let's make sure we take control of our mornings. So this is what I do. So the first thing I do is I spend about 10 to 15 minutes just moving. Just move. You've been sleeping for a long time. Your body is, you know, heart rate is low. The blood needs to start circulating. You need to get alive. So move. You want to walk. You want to do exercise. You want to do some yoga. You want to do star jumps. Whatever works for you. Just move your body. And do that for about 10 to 15 minutes. Again, to get the heart rate up and to get the blood circulating. The second thing I do is I take deep breaths. And it's not the breathing that we're doing now, which is just, automatic, right? Unconscious. It's being conscious of the breath and seeing the belly going in and out, not the breaths where the chest goes in and out, the deep belly breaths. Why? We want to get oxygen to all our cells, again, to come alive. Do that for about 10 to 15 minutes. Next, I meditate. There's so many types of meditation. Try different ones. There's walking meditation, there's silence meditation, there's chanting, there's guided meditation. There's so many types. And please don't be like this person that I'm about to share, a story about. Someone comes to me and goes, Saahil, I tried this meditation thing. It didn't really work out. I said, really? How what did you try? He said, I tried it once. I was like, wow, bravo. Imagine when you're a kid and you're crawling and you're about, you're trying to stand, you stand so you can start to walk and you fall on your bum and you go, you know what? This is not for me. It hurt. I don't want to walk. I'm just going to crawl for the rest of my life. No, come on. You've achieved so much in life. Give it a good shot. Try the different forms. There's so many. And for whatever reason, if it doesn't work out, just sit in silence and just reflect for a good 15 minutes or so. And again, so why do I meditate? It's to balance the mind and the heart, right? To get it balanced. And then finally, we get on to journaling. Now, what do you do in your journaling? Or what do I do at least? These are the things that I suggest. So I start my journaling with gratitude. There's a lot that's going on. 2021 has been a tough year. For many of you, at least for me, 2020, a lot of these things seem distant, but 2021, it brought it home. Family members have been sick, have passed away, friends. It's crazy. But there's a lot of things that I'm grateful for. I'm grateful to live in a safe area. I'm grateful to have food on my plate. I'm grateful to have a bed to sleep on. I'm grateful to be with my family members. The list goes on and on and on. So just write 3 things that you're grateful for. The next 3 things that I write are 3 things that I'm excited about. I was excited this morning because it's my mom's birthday. I was excited this morning because I was presenting to all of you. There's so many things to be looking forward to. What are you excited about? The next thing I write in my journal is a positive affirmation. And the one that I wrote this morning is, I have the power to change my life for the better, to get it right and get the desired results. But again, there's so many positive affirmations. Just search on Google and you'll find tens of thousands of them. See which one resonates with you. Write a few down and then use the one that's most appropriate on how you feel in that moment in time in the morning. So after I've done the gratitude, the excitement, and the positive affirmation, I write down my top 3 priorities of the day. Now, remember I told you earlier, where are you going? So once you've identified some of your summits that you wish to climb in your life, that you wish to scale, what step can you take today to get one step closer? And when I say 3 priorities, this is not a wish list. These are 3 things you will get done. So if it's 3 is too much, write 2. If 2 is too much, write 1. But anything, one step that you take that brings you one step closer to scaling your summit, because then you feel like you've achieved. No matter what goes on in the day, you've achieved something towards your goal, towards where you wish to go. And then finally, I close my journaling, and I have to admit, I give credit to my children for this because they picked it up from SpongeBob SquarePants. I write down, today is going to be the best day ever. Now, you can only imagine after having gone through this routine, how energized I feel, how positive I feel, how ready I am to take on the day. So I urge each and every one of you, if you like my morning routine, replicate it. If you wish to change it, but do something that energizes you each and every morning, because the first hour is the rudder for the day. So now that we've covered the mind, the external, we're going to move to the internal, the mental. Now we're moving to the physical, which is the body. And one thing that I want to share here is listen to your body, right? It's an amazing machine. It's constantly giving you feedback. So if it doesn't feel right, it probably is not. Think about it. When your body is hungry, it tells you I'm hungry. When it's tired, it tells you I'm sleepy. When it's hurt, it tells you I'm hurt. But are you listening, or are you too busy running constantly that you're not paying attention? And then it gets worse and worse and worse. And then one day, boom, something hits you hard. Start listening to your body. So there's 4 areas that I cover in the book, but today I'm going to be focusing on one which you can start applying effectively today, tonight, which is sleep. Now, one of the most renowned sleep specialist, Matthew Walker, says, and I agree with, that sleep is probably the single most effective thing you can do for your brain and your body. Why? Because sleep is when healing occurs. Your body is a natural healing machine. Think about it. When you get cut, a small cut on your finger, do you need to go to the doctor? No. Do you need to take medicine? No, your body heals itself. It's a natural healing machine. And guess what? Sleep is so important in that healing. And again, guilty as charged. I used to sacrifice everything over sleep. I mean, sleep was always sacrificed over everything else. I'm like, oh, I need to do more work. I need to socialize more. It's okay, I'll sleep an hour less. But I'm disrupting my healing process. Now, how do I expect to achieve and grow and get better if I'm not healing? So I'm going to share with you some techniques that you can start to apply immediately on how to get a better night's rest. Number 1, make sure that you have a gap of at least 3 hours between dinner and the time you go to bed. Why? As I mentioned, when you sleep, you're healing. But your digestive process, the gastric emptying, which is when it goes from your stomach into your intestines, is anywhere from 3 to 5 hours. So you need at least 3 hours for that to take place. And what happens as an effect is less energy goes towards breaking that food down in your stomach and more energy towards healing while you're sleeping, right? Because the key is I care about the healing. And coupled with that, look at what you're eating. Many of us in this part of the world especially, we have our largest meal for dinner. This needs to be your smallest meal, the lightest meal. Because again, the less it has to process, your stomach, the more energy is going towards healing. Otherwise, if it's spending a lot of time digesting the food, there's less towards healing. Number 2, get into a sleep routine. The mind loves routine. The body loves routine. And it knows I'm about to fall asleep. That could be brushing your teeth, changing into your pajamas, switching off the lights, putting on some essential oils if you use them. I mean, it could be anything. But go through a routine that's the same every single evening. Because before you hit the pillow and the bed, your body already knows I'm about to fall asleep. Number 3, no electronics at least an hour before bed. I know you're thinking, that's hard. I love my TV. I'm checking my messages. I'm sending emails. No. The world's still going to continue whether you do that or not, right? I mean, we're not that important. But here's the thing, and I'll tell you why, jokes aside. When you are spending time on these screens are emitting something called blue light. And you must have heard about this. So the blue light interferes with your production of melatonin. Melatonin is one of the internal chemicals that's produced by the body that helps you to fall asleep. And the screen time hampers with the production, effectively making it harder for you to fall asleep. So by spending that screen time, you're making it difficult to get your recovery, the healing. Now, some of you might say, I work across regions and this and that. If you must, and please make it an exception, not the norm, get your blue light filter glasses. You can get blue light filter glasses. It's with an orange tint. It blocks out a lot of the blue light, helps you to get a better night's rest. But even if you want to watch TV, I don't advise it because you're stimulating the mind. You know, some people say, I watch comedy, but that's still stimulating the mind. You want to slow things down in the evening. You want your body to get ready for bed so that you get a wonderful night's sleep. And the final thing that I'd like to say, it's not just the number of hours you get sleep, but it's the time of day. We have something called the circadian rhythm. It's a natural internal body clock. And most of your physical recovery is happening between the hours of 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. And then your mental recovery is happening from 2 a.m. till 6 a.m. So even if you say, I went to bed at 1 and I woke up at 9 and I got 8 hours of sleep, guess what? You didn't get much physical recovery, which is why you may wake up even after a good night's rest and you go, my body is aching. It's because you slept too late. So these are tips you can start applying immediately. And here's a kind of a scary statistic. In the 1940s in the US, the average sleep time was about 7.5 hours. 7 hours and 20 something minutes to be precise. And today it's gone down to 6 hours and 40 minutes. So people are sleeping 10% less than they were in the 1940s. And I'm not saying that the correlation which I'm about to share is because of sleep alone, but it's certainly a contributing factor where you see a lot more illnesses that are happening today because the body is not healing enough. It has 10% less healing than it had before. And you couple that with the screen time and the anxiety and all of that, there's a lot less healing going on. So it's important for our bodies to heal. So get the right sleep time and give your body what it needs and yourself, because you owe it to yourself, your family, your friends, your community, everyone. Next, we're going to get on to decluttering people. Now, just a quick word of caution. Decluttering people does not mean to get rid of people, right? As I know you're probably thinking there are a few of them that need to go from my life, and maybe that's true. But what I'm referring to here is removing the clutter between you and someone you care about. Right? So you might have a colleague, a family friend, a family member, a child, someone where there's things that are unsaid that have developed and now there's distance between the two of you. I refer to that as clutter between you. And I want to help you to remove that so you can become closer once again. And for those people that you want to get rid of from your life, you can still use these tools, which I share in the book as well, where you at least don't let them affect you so much. Right? Because there's certain names, right? There's some people, if I mention their name, your blood just starts to boil and you go, I hate them. I wish they weren't here. And all these horrible thoughts come to our minds, right? But guess what? You're the puppet and they're the puppet master, because every time they're mentioned, they're controlling you even without you knowing. We want that to stop. We want to break that link between the two of you. My goal is for you to be neutral around them. You don't have to bring them back in your life if you don't want to, but at least we don't want them to control us by pressing on those triggers in our body. So these are the 3 things that I cover in the book, but today we're going to focus on overcoming confrontational conversations. Now, the confrontational conversation is here in our mind, right? I mean, there's many times where I've had to speak to a friend or a family member or, a colleague, and I've held back. Especially because I was always wearing that mask of must be seen as Mr. Nice Guy. I used to let things go. But guess what happened? It caused distance because I wouldn't let go of what the problem was, and it still was in me. And that was affecting my relationship with these people. And over time, we started to distance. But guess what? I care about these people. They're good friends. They're family members that I love. And I want us to be like this, not like this. So I'm going to share with you tools that I use to overcome these, what in our mind are confrontational conversations. Now, before I do, 2 things very important. 1, make sure you know what the outcome is that you wish to achieve by going into that conversation. Don't just say, I need to have this conversation with Farzana and I'll kind of go with it. I'll go with the flow and figure things out. No, be very clear what what the outcome needs to be before you enter that conversation. And the second thing is be aware of your emotional state. I used to enter some of these conversations with hurt, with anger, with fear, with bitterness, because I had been hurt. And then that's when I had my again, one of those aha moments. I said, Saahil, how can you enter a conversation with a negative state of mind and expect to get a positive outcome? You've lowered your chances. Again, how do you expect to get a positive outcome if you've entered with a negative state of mind? I said, wow, oh my goodness. Again, another aha moment. I said, I need to enter the conversation with the positive state of mind, with love, with compassion, with empathy, because that's going to increase my chances of a positive outcome. So now that we know these two things, let's talk about the actual conversation with the other person. So here are some tips that you can apply. I said that you be clear on what you want the outcome to be. Make sure you share that with the other person. I want this conversation with you because I want to bring us closer together. Because I've sometimes not mentioned it and the conversation went sideways. And then I'm like, oh my goodness, I didn't think the conversation was going to go there. They had no idea why I was having the conversation. They probably thought I was trying to get back at them or something. And then it just went even worse than it already was. So clearly communicate what you wish the outcome to be. Make sure you're in a quiet space, technology's away, right? No phones and all that, because you want to give full attention to each other. Yeah. And so these are some of the other things you can do. Make sure that you try to understand things from the other person's perspective. What do you see on this slide? You see a 6. Now imagine if I'm standing face to face with you and I draw a 6 on the ground. What do you see? You see a 9. Now I can argue with you and I can say, hey, you're a fool. You don't know anything. It's a 6. Can't you see? And then you're going to say, you're the fool. It's a 9. Are you blind? And then imagine how that conversation ends up. Not very well, right? But all we had to do was just say, let me try to understand from the other person's perspective, because everything has multiple perspectives. And all I had to do was turn around and go, oh my goodness, yes, it can be a 9 as well. I never saw that. So understand things from the other person's perspective. Number 3, no violence. No raising of, no physical violence, absolutely not. And no raising of voices or using foul language. And if you start seeing your emotional state go out of control, pause and breathe. I always tell someone, if you have nothing good to say, it's better to keep your mouth shut. And that's the advice I follow for myself. So sometimes when I'm having these difficult conversations, I just go silent. And it might sound weird, and the other person might think it's strange, but you know what? I'd rather they think I'm weird than I say something that I'm going to go back and go, oh my goodness, I wish I didn't say that, or I wish I didn't do that. Because that I can't change. Silence, I can get away with. And if you really must, which I've done, by the way, on one particular occasion, I said, please excuse me for a minute. And I literally left the room, composed myself again, and I came back. The next point number 4, listen. And you might say, yeah, I listen. No, you don't, because you're listening to the voice in your head. You're listening to all the things you're interpreting what the other person's saying. You're listening to the voice in your head thinking how you're going to respond. It's like when you sit on an airplane and the pilot goes, next flight to Maldives, the weather is sunny, it's 30 degrees outside, we expect to land in 3.5 hours. You're listening, but you're reading a book, you're on your phone, you're talking to someone. Yeah, it's kind of listening, but you're busy, right? You're not really focused on what the pilot's saying. But now imagine if the pilot says, the plane is about to go down. And if you listen carefully to what I'm about to say and follow exactly what I tell you to do, you'll have the best chance of survival. How are you listening now? Are you on your phone? No. Are you thinking about something else? No. Are you talking to anyone? No. You're listening carefully to the pilot because you're like, I want to live. I want to survive. That's the listening you need to do with the other person. Listen to what they're saying. Listen to their body language. And if you're not clear, don't assume. How on earth are you going to base your relationship on an assumption? Are you going to risk an important relationship on an assumption where you're filling in the gaps based on your experience or your learnings? No. Ask. Many times my wife will tell me, Saahil, you ask a lot of questions. And I say, honey, it's because I love you. And I don't want to risk our relationship on thinking and assuming things which may be untrue. So just to avoid any doubt, I may ask you the same thing 3 different ways, but it's because I want to be sure, because I love you. Now, when I say that, she can't really argue with my questioning, and she understands where I'm coming from. So the next time you have to have that difficult conversation, or at least difficult in your mind, think about how you approach it, your intentions, and follow these rules for yourself. And if you want, you can even share this framework with them that you both agree to. And you can even ask them, listen, this is what I've heard. If you want to modify or add anything, please feel free. Co-create with them. But if the relationship matters, you have to remove that clutter, because otherwise you're just distancing yourselves apart. And like I said, when your emotions go out of control, just stop, take a pause, and breathe. And one great breathing technique, which I'm going to share with all of you today, is something that I practice when I'm in that state. It's called box breathing. So essentially, you breathe in for 3 seconds, you hold for 3 seconds, you breathe out for 3 seconds, and you hold again for 3 seconds. And you keep repeating that. Now, you might want to do 2 seconds, you might want to do 4, 5. I leave it up to you. I'm just sharing with you the concept. It all depends on your lung capacity. So finally, now that we've done people, we're moving on to decluttering the material world. These are the areas that I cover in the book, but the one I'm going to focus on today is want versus need. So this is myself with 5 women at the top of Mount Kilimanjaro, the tallest mountain in Africa. And the one who's wearing the blue on the bottom, next to the one in the red, that's my wife. So we're all there, and I'm having dinner with these lovely ladies one evening, and I asked them, what do you miss the most? And all of them say kids without hesitation. And I go, wow, not one thought about their husband. Now, I felt fortunate and lucky because my wife is there, so she doesn't have to think about me because I'm already with her. So, that's why she's thinking of the kids. But look, jokes aside, I said, no, forget people. What do you miss the most? Guess what they came up with? The 3 things they came up with were as follows. I miss a bed. I miss a warm room. I miss running water. And that's when it struck me. I'm always the guy who was saying, I need this, I need that, I need the shoes, I need the laptop, I need the watch, I need the car, I didn't need anything. I had everything that I needed, which were the necessities in life. I had food, I had shelter, I had basic clothing. These are my needs. I have all of them. I have more than what I need. Everything was not a need. It was a want. It was a desire. So let's start calling it what it is. The next time you catch yourself saying, I need this and I need that, ask yourself, do I need it or do I want it? Because I can assure you that you have everything you need. These other things are just wants. And when I started switching that in my mind, many times I look at something and go, actually, I don't need this. And so then I just stopped getting the things that I used to easily buy before. And slowly, I also started to reduce what I had. And I started to remove a lot of things in my life. And if the pandemic has taught me anything, even after clearing over half my closet, I still feel like I have a lot more than I need. So I went from a mindset of living a life of scarcity to a life of abundance. And boy, what a beautiful change that was. So again, ask yourself, next time you say you need something, do you really need it or is it a want? So normally that brings me closer to the end of our presentation, but technology, I had to bring it in there. It's like a bonus for today. And the question I have for all of you is, do you control technology or does it control you? Now, many of you say, I control my technology. I'm not addicted. How many of you do the following? By the way, I used to do 4 of the 5, guilty as charged. But type in the chat box, how many of the 5 do you do? Is it 1? Is it 2? Is it 3? Is it 4? Is it 5? And be honest with yourself, right? No judgment here. This is just to highlight and bring to our minds awareness of how addicted we are to our technology, and specifically the phone. Great, so I'm seeing people. I love the honesty. Thank you everyone, whoever's responded so far. So we have people wow, we've got quite a range, 2 of the 5, 3 of the 5, 4 of the 5, all of them. Brilliant. Let's start getting control back. And these are some of the tools that once I found out that I was addicted, I said to myself, okay, how do I get control back? I don't want technology to control me. So these are the things I did. I switched off all notifications on my phone. Yeah, it doesn't blink, it doesn't vibrate, it doesn't make a sound, it's off. I check it when I want to. And notifications, by the way, not just on your phone, it's on your laptop. You know, when you get an email and it says you got a new mail, and then you click on it because you're like, even though you're working, you're in flow, you're on something so important, this silly thing comes along and you go, ooh, let me click on it. And sometimes it's just some spam about, a new credit card or, join this break free webinar or something along those lines, But look, check when you need to check. Don't let technology control you. Charge your phone outside your room. I do this now. It's brilliant. I don't have to, I used to reach out to my phone first thing in the morning. I could barely open my eyes and I'm like doing this to see my screen, And now I just charge my phone outside my room. Until I'm done with my morning routine, I don't even look at it. I check my emails a few times a day. I actually set up an autoresponder saying, I'm away from my desk. If anything is urgent, call me. These, and guess how many calls I get during the day? 1, maybe 2, as a result of the email reminder. I don't even get, so nothing is ever that urgent. And I certainly put my technology away when I'm interacting with people. Now, when I'm interacting with you, my phone's on the side. I use it just as a prop because I want to do a few things with it. But when I'm on the dinner table, I've been to a restaurant where I saw 6 people, 6 members of the family, all on the phone. Now, the optimist inside of me was saying that they're all playing a game with each other and they're chatting with each other. But in reality, the truth is that they were all busy in their own lives. I'm like, why are you even going out for dinner together if you're on the phone? What's the point? What are you setting as an example for the rest of your family? So start being more aware of your actions because there's always a reason, right? Sometimes my wife and I, we always say that we hold each other accountable. So if I pick it up and go, yeah, sweetheart, it's an urgent call. And she goes, is it really? Or she'll say, we'll do that to each other. We hold each other accountable and it helps because we don't want to set an example that it's okay to do that for our children. And finally, stop following people on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn that don't serve any purpose in your life and not in line with your goals. And if you don't want to unfollow them because you think they might find it rude, guess what? Instagram has this great feature called mute. So I have a bunch of people that I follow and I thought, maybe they'll I didn't even know what happens if I unfollow. I'm not a social media person. But I said the more polite way is just to mute them. Because I was, I came to realize that some of my friends had lots of besties and they would always take photos with their besties. I'm like, wow, I didn't realize you could have 50 best friends. I only have 1. I have many friends, but I only have 1 best friend. So that's how you get control back, my dear friends. And what is it like when you break free? I don't want to talk about it in words. I want to show you. This is how it feels. Imagine yourself in this image, breaking free from the shackles that have been holding you down for so long. Now, before you break free, there are certain things that get in the way. and I talk about in the book, but one of them is removing self-limiting beliefs. And I want to share a story with you. And it goes with a quote, right? They did not know it was impossible, so they did it. Again, I repeat, they did not know it was impossible, so they did it. Now, this is a farmer from Australia named Cliff Young. And there's the hardest running race in Australia is from Melbourne to Sydney, or Sydney to Melbourne. I forget which way it is. But it's over 700 kilometers long. So, you have all these racers who come, they're in their professional gear, they got their sponsors, they're young athletes. And then one day this gentleman shows up in his overalls and his farmer boots. And people are thinking, is this a joke? Is he a spectator? Who is this guy? And this 60-plus-year-old was entering the race. Now, they discounted him. So this is what happens. They start the race. Now, mind you, this potato farmer also managed a lot of sheep. And whenever it rained or the storms were coming, so bad weather basically, he would have to gather the sheep and bring them back to the farm. Now, this guy, Cliff, he wasn't that rich. So he had to run and go get them. And sometimes he'd be up for 2 nights in a row just gathering his sheep and bringing them back to the farm, 2 to 3 nights. So the race starts, everyone runs off, and he's like you can't see me, but he's kind of shuffling along, right? He's got this shuffle kind of a run. Again, mind you, 60 plus. Now, there's one thing he didn't know. Most of these runners, they sleep for about 6 hours every night and they run for 18. He was used to gathering his sheep. He didn't know that you had to sleep. So he must have slept in those few days, maybe a few hours. But guess what that meant? That meant he was running for more than maybe 15 to 20 hours more than everyone else. So not only did this 60-plus-year-old finish the race, he won. Not only did he win, he smashed the record. Why? Because he did not know it was impossible. So how many times is your mind getting in your way because you said, I can't? I can't. And how about switching to I can and I will? When I started climbing these mountains, I was thinking to myself, I'm not a mountaineer. How am I going to get up to the top? When I'm working on something, a large project, I don't know if I'm going to win. Our company is so small compared to the other ones. But how about saying, I am going to win. I am going to climb that mountain. Or whatever other area of your life you're holding yourself back on. Because guess what? With that mindset, you've set yourself up for failure before you've even started. So how can you identify? I'd start identifying the self-limiting beliefs and start thinking of this quote. They did not know it was impossible, so they did it. And search for this story about this Cliff Young and read about how he achieved. Because if he can do it, and all the hundreds of stories you can find around this quote, you can do it as well, and you will. So once again, we covered the framework, which was focusing on the internal, which is the mind and the body. We then moved to the external, which is people and material things, with the ultimate goal to break free. The results, you're going to achieve more with less effort. You're going to feel happier without even seeking it. You will no longer have toxic relationships. You'll wake up every single morning energized. But there's only one question I leave all of you with before we wrap up, and that is, are you ready to be truly unstoppable? Because I believe you are. Thank you so much for your time. It was a real honor. I'm so humbled to share with all of you today on this 29th of May. I now open it up for questions.
Wow.
And before I do, I just want to share with you my QR code. So if you want to connect with me, here's my profile on LinkedIn. You can just scan this and you can then connect with me. And if you want to reach out to me, feel free to do so. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions and connect with you. Thank you.
Amazing, Sahil. Thank you so much. My goodness, it was definitely an eye opener. But what we'll do is before we dive into the question answer, I would like to, of course, thank you for this amazing informative session. There are many questions I can see. Not many. I hope listeners are putting in their questions, and we would like to see hand raise. You can talk to Sahil directly. Let me commence with one question that I have for you. And I always felt that, you know, whenever I'm speaking to coaches, they always talk about mindset. And you just talked about self belief, limiting mindset, right? These are, you know, the words which we say, and you showed us there are three, four ways how you can stop that mindset. But to build that mindset, what do you suggest? Because I don't think it's something which you can switch within, you know, just it's an on and off switch, isn't it? It's a process, it's a journey, right? So where do anybody like myself begin that journey? What do you think?
Lovely question. So really it starts with awareness. Now that we've planted this seed through this time that we've spent together, you're now going to be thinking about it more. So
Yes.
start thinking about it every day. Ask yourself in the evening, where was I limiting myself today? Get into that habit of reflection on the day. Because words have energy.
Hmm.
Thoughts, whenever you think leads to feeling, leads to emotion, that leads to action. And those repeated actions become habits, and those repeated habits become rituals.
Hmm.
So by changing your thoughts, you can change your life. Okay, now again, I just want to give you a very simple example. Imagine me standing at the bottom of the mountain, looking up and going,
I will.
ooh, that's really far. I'm going to try,
Yes.
I'm going to try to climb this mountain. Versus, I'm going to climb this mountain. There's a different energy. The physiological state of the body changes just by choosing the words that are in your head, whether you say it out loud or not. Even if you think it, it changes your composition. So start being more aware. What am I thinking of? And catch yourself and say, whoa, whoa, whoa. Why am I thinking this way? No, 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 no. I am going to do it. I will do it. I'll make it. I'll do this. Whatever it is. But it's all about switching the words in your head. But it's
Right.
practice. So, and the only way you can do that is through reflection. And so the reflection, a great time, spend 5 minutes every evening. It's not much of an ask.
Hmm. Yes, that's what it is. Because I'll tell you what, I was reading your book this morning. Can you see this? Ah, do you have your book there? It's because of the screen. Anyways, if you have your book, can you please show it to the people audience here?
Yeah,
Right.
it's on my backdrop. You can see it.
I can, yeah, we can see that. All right. So I was reading the book and I have this problem with the technology. I am really poor, and I am poor. That's why I'm saying I'm really poor. But this morning, I found out that my son won't be there to help me with the technology because I needed some help from him. He's himself busy. Now, I was reading that chapter where you mentioned self-belief, limiting belief. So I'm telling myself, you know what? I can do it, and I did it by myself. So it's like you're very right. It's in our minds. Sometimes certain things we stop ourselves from saying yes to ourselves. I guess am I right? This is exactly what it is. Or you can elaborate more if you have to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's, especially when you live in a part of the world where you can have someone else do it for you, it takes away from it. And so every now and again, I make sure that I take on a difficult challenge and I
Right.
do it myself, whether it's handiwork in the house, whether it's something in the office, whether it's something to do with the children,
Mm.
rather than being dependent always on other people. There's no problem having assistance, but make sure
Mm.
that you are comfortable that you can do certain things yourself. And how empowering is it, Farzana, that you didn't have to depend on anyone? You did it on your
I know,
own.
and I have been doing this myself. It's just that that confidence was not there. And just because I now today knew that he's not going to be there, I had no choice but to go ahead and try my luck. And well, I'm right here. So let's look at this question here. It's from Asmau Ahmed. And I think when we were talking about sleep deprivation or sleeping, and that's where he had asked this question, how do we get the recommended hours so we don't hit the snooze? I think you did respond to that while you were doing your presentation, but would you really like to take this up again?
So, again, the body loves rhythm. Okay. And if you want to know, because you're not, I don't like it when people put other people in buckets, right? I don't know how much sleep you need, but your body
Right.
does. And so the best way to do this is for a period of 1 week, fall asleep around the same time every evening.
Mm.
Don't put an alarm and just see what time you naturally wake up. Because your body is going to tell you that, okay, I'm done. I'm ready to wake up.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll also figure out, oh, I've slept an average of around 6, 7, 8, 9, and whatever that time is for you.
Mm-hmm.
But fall asleep around the same time and just see what time you wake up and just record that.
Right.
And just to give you an idea for everyone who's listening, I fall asleep around 10 on average. Okay.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I don't put an alarm. I haven't put an alarm for a year and a half now.
Oh, wow.
Right. Because I want my body to wake up when it's ready to wake up.
Right.
And
Okay.
I'm waking up somewhere in the range of 5:30 in the morning.
Okay.
Okay. And so I'm very happy with that. That's my routine now. And the body, even if I sleep a little later, I still wake up early. And that's the thing. So what happens, what a lot of people say is that, oh, look, I slept late and I woke up early and my body is fine with that. No, it's used to that rhythm. If I sleep at 11 or 12, I'm still going to wake up around 5:30.
Right. Right. Okay.
That's why
So,
I'm saying do it over a period of days. See what time, stick to something a little earlier. Whatever you're doing now, do a little earlier. If you're falling asleep at 1, don't try to do 9:30. It's not going to work. If you're falling asleep at 1, try to go to bed like by 12. Do something that's reasonable. That's a little earlier than what you're already doing. And do that every day for 7 days. You have to be disciplined. And then wake up and see what time you're waking up. And don't use your phone to look at the time, okay? Get a clock. Because when you look at your phone, you start looking at other things. Farzana, you're on mute.
I didn't want to. Okay. So, so there's some good compliments here, but let's look at um dude.
Farzana,
Oh, hi. Yes, you want to talk?
uh, Farzana, this is Mahmuda from. Hi.
How are you?
Yeah, I have a question
Please go ahead.
to Sahil.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, actually, I happened to attend the session very late, around 6, I would say. So sorry about it. I didn't see the notification in my WhatsApp. It was a wonderful session, I would say. And I'm a person like I begin everything very with enthusiasm. I just take it forward to some extent. I stop there, and again I am back to my shell. So how do I overcome this to achieve my goals?
So I always tell someone, how badly do you want it? Right? I always
I
ask someone
really,
how.
I'm serious about it. I'm serious about it now. Before the session, I was
I'm
talking about it to my friend.
I'm sure you are, right? But this is what I tell people because I have a lot of people that start things and they stop, like you, and the reasons are plenty. But here's the thing: what is your overall objective? Like, what is important for you? Like for me, health was very important, and it's become even more important after this pandemic. So when someone presents me with a cupcake, for example, every single day, my answer is no.
Okay.
Right? It's because it's in line with my overall summit, right? This is the summit of health that I wanted to scale. And so whenever I ask myself, is this in line with where I want to go? And
Okay. Mhm.
if it is, then I do it. And if it's not, I say no. And so it's very
Okay.
important to understand where are you going with this? What is the overall objective? Because there's a tournament coming up in my community for cricket. My wife entered it, and I'm thinking, oh, I can join as well. I get to spend time with my wife during the activity. But I do other things. And is cricket in line with where I wish to go? It's not. So I said no.
Okay.
Even though it
Yeah.
sounds great and it's a lot of fun, but I do other things as well. And if I said yes to that, I'm going to have to say no to something else. So when I say no to something else, am I ready to say no to the other things? No, because they're more in line with where I want to go, whether it's work related, family related, health related, whatever it is. Whenever you say
Okay.
yes to something, you have to say no to something else. So be very clear in your mind which one of those two is more important for you. Because if you're letting something go, that means something else was maybe more important for you.
Okay. Yeah. Can you throw some more light? Like I mean, after hearing your answer for my question, I have like a doubt which really I wanted a clarification, because making decisions between this yes and no, I think I'm stuck over there.
The key is not about making the decision. The key is knowing which direction you wish to go. So first, I would
Okay.
say is list down in family, where do you want to go? In health, where do you want to go? In relationships, in money, in the different areas of your life, where is it that you would like it to be? What is the ideal situation? And so every time you come to a crossroad where you have to decide between left and right, you go, okay, is it in line with any of these things that I wish to do? If it is, that's the direction I go. And if it's not in line, I just say, you know what, it sounds really good, it sounds like a lot of fun, it sounds like it could do wonders for me, but it's not in line with where I am going right now. So I'm just going to put it on pause, and maybe I'll attend to it later, and maybe I won't, but for now I'm going to say no.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sahil. Really, it was a wonderful answer. And I'll work on it.
My
Because
pleasure.
you won't believe, just half an hour back attending your session, before that I was talking about this, I was regretting so much to my friend, like what is the purpose of my life, where am I heading and all. And I really got the answer. Now I have to work on it. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank
And
you.
I think you have to buy his book and read through it. The way he has explained all these things in his book, it's such a simple English language, and everything just comes to you that easily. So try and look for his book on Amazon. It's really
Yeah, sure, Farzana. Thank you so much.
your call. So we have
Thank you,
another.
Atya, for sharing the link. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so we have somebody who wants to talk to you, Sahil. Sunila.
Yeah.
Hi.
Good evening, everyone, and a special good evening to our coach and the motivational speaker today. It was a beautiful webinar. Now, I am Sunila Charku. My question is, sir, I have whatever you have spoken, that how you have to behave or how you have to speak. I have seen many people, some of my friends, speaking like that. But when it comes to the practical situation, when something goes on wrong, they will not hold anything, they will just blast. And I'm just wondering, 2 days back, they were giving such sermons because there was absolutely peace. And when the things come practically, something goes wrong, they forget everything and they start blasting. They start bad mouthing. So, where does the difference lay? In theory, they know everything. But when it comes to the practical things, it is almost zero. So what is the difference? Why does this dichotomy happens? I just want to know. Back to you, sir.
So what one of my coaches and mentors always tells me, he says, Sahil, everything I say is easy to understand.
Hmm.
Right? So that's the theory part. Everything is easy to understand. I didn't tell you
Yes.
anything that is rocket science or you need a PhD to understand what it is.
Yes.
But he goes, Sahil, it's easy to understand, but it's very hard to implement.
Exactly.
Okay? It's very hard to implement. Why? Because it requires three things:
Hmm.
courage,
Hmm.
discipline,
Yes.
and humility. Okay?
Okay.
So,
Great.
so I'm going to give you a very recent example of mine.
Hmm.
I moved into a new house. I've been dealing with contractors for the last 4 to 6 months. I got really frustrated a few days ago, and I started behaving in a manner that I was not proud of. I was, my temper came, and, I was approaching things with anger rather than with love. And that's not like me. And so I was not happy with it. Now, I could say, it's just a contractor. my ego can kick in and I'll be like, whatever, I don't have to say anything. I'll just be nice moving forward and that'll be okay. But you know what I did? I called him to my office and I said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the behavior over the last few days. I've been really frustrated and it's not okay for me to behave in this manner to you. I'm not proud of my actions. I please ask you for forgiveness. And he
Okay.
said, no, don't be silly, this and that and this. And I said, no, I'm not being silly. It matters to me. It's very important. But to do that, I had to be humble. I needed humility, right? I needed the courage, right? Because it's not easy asking for forgiveness.
Yes.
Because many times you think you've been done wrong, right? I think my contractor has not delivered to what he said in terms of timings and stuff. So I've been done wrong, but I still had the courage to apologize.
Okay.
And I had to be disciplined that that every time I go off track, I'm disciplined to get back on track in whichever area of my life there is. Right? Because
That sounds
me,
great.
like me, you're going to hear lots of speakers in your life, and all of them you'll walk out and you go, wow, amazing. And I learned so much. And then you go back to doing exactly what you did.
Exactly.
That was me. I never took anything. But now I say, I'm going to take one thing. I'm just going to take one. I heard 50 or 20 or 10 or whatever. I'm going to take one. So I urge each and every one of you, take one thing that you've learned today and apply it. Just
That
one.
is great. That I agree. That is really great because we cannot take so many things and implement. It is impossible. Let me tell you, it is impossible. Yeah. If we take even one thing, that would be great. It is not possible for anyone because you have a mindset of your own. For many years, you have been brought up, you are working in certain atmosphere, in a certain type. It's difficult to change overnight by a 60-minute presentation or a 50-minute presentation. But at the same time, yes, if you change even one perspective, it will be great. I do agree with it. Thank you so much.
Just one thing I'll say, please don't use the word it's difficult to change. Because again, that itself is a self-limiting belief.
Okay, then we'll say it is a challenge. Shall I use the word challenge?
Sure. That sounds
Yeah,
more
that is
that sounds like something you want to take.
Challenge
Right?
is
I wanna take on the
optimistic.
challenge.
Yes, I do agree. I thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your question. Now we have another person, Tabassum. Why don't you please go ahead?
Sure. Hi, Sahil. Hi, everybody. There's this one, not just question, but yeah, I just wanted to express myself. Am I audible?
Yes.
Am I audible enough? Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, there's this one thing when you were talking about the technology usability, especially the mobile phones and everything. I completely resonate with what you were saying. Because I am somebody who would not carry my phones around. There was a time when actually I never had my phone around me. My phone would just lie.
Sunila, I think your mic is on. Hi, Sunila. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, Tabassum, please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So there were times when I actually did not have my phone around, and I used to be in my own world. Though because I know that my loved ones and everybody's around, I still do that a lot. But I have people around me who always remind me that when I'm not having my phone around, I'm being very irresponsible. And when I don't answer my phone, there's somebody who would call my husband and be like, yeah, I knew she would not pick up, so I called you. And the reason they were giving to call me was it was not something very urgent or that they needed me. It was just something, hey, what's up and what's been happening. And that pressure is constantly there, reminding me from people around me I'm irresponsible. If I'm not looking at my messages, I'm like, I've co-owned a company, and I'm the co-founder of a company. And if I'm not on my phone, something would happen to myself. I know deep inside I'm not wrong. I know something, if there's something urgent, I would look up to it. And it's not that if I don't look at my phone for another half an hour, 1 hour, the world would come crashing down. But that constant pressure has now made me, I wouldn't say addicted, but I'm like more, into my phone. Like I keep watching. Is there any message that I've missed out? Is there any call that I've missed out? That anxiety, which was not there before, has been created now. How do I get back to, that that tabassum all. Plus, when I reason out with people, and when I'm talking about people, I'm talking about people who are very, very close to me. I cannot just let them go, by just shunning them or shutting them, right? So when I reason out with them, they think I'm arguing, though I'm not arguing, because I cut down arguments because I don't like to go into arguments, and I'm not a very, very vocal person. So they always think that, I'm wrong. I just don't accept it that I'm wrong and I'm arguing. How do I deal with all of these things, Sahil?
So you've covered lots of things here. All right, but let me dive into it a little bit, right? Just
Yeah.
the some of the key points.
Mm-hmm.
One is, and this was a hard realization, right? I remember that whenever I work with people and they're going through transition, people are not accepting their transition, and there's pushback. So, in this case, your friends or whoever it is, they're pushing back, right? I mean, they're not accepting your transition,
Yeah.
right? The question becomes is, what are you comfortable with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when I was comfortable with myself, when I stopped pleasing other people, which is what I used to focus on, I said, enough, I'm going to focus on myself. There was some collateral damage. I lost some people along the way because they didn't accept me for who I was. But guess what? The ones who did accept me, our friendship is beautiful. So now when I go, because I have a bedtime, when I go somewhere and I get up at 9:30 and say, okay, I have to leave now because I have to go to bed, no one questions it because I'm consistent. See, what happens is many times people, they do something, they'll be on one side, and then because of pressure, they jump to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, no, this is not good. And they go back.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, because of pressure, they jump. So what happens is there's no consistency. So then people are also confused because like, is she okay with it? She's not okay with it? What's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
I was very consistent in my behavior. I made a decision, then I stuck to it. The only exceptions I make to my sleep arrangement is if it's a birthday or an anniversary or some special occasion for a dear person, then I might stay up later. Otherwise, everyone knows. Even if my wife makes a dinner reservation somewhere at 8 o'clock, if dinner's not over by 9:30, by 9:30, 9:45, I get up and go, even if there's other people on the table. But they know that this is how he is. He goes to bed by a certain time because he values his sleep, because he values his morning. They've accepted me for who I am. That's a beautiful friendship.
Right.
I'm not here to live for others. And I don't mean this in a selfish way. Because when I live for myself and I am with my cup overflowing, I have so much love to give. My relationship with my family is so much stronger. My work ethics are so much better. My productivity is better. But if I'm empty inside and I'm trying to make other people happy, sometimes I make one person happy, the other one gets upset. Then I try to make them happy and the third one gets upset. I'm like, oh my goodness, what is this? I just want to be me. I just want to be my authentic self. And if someone can accept me for who I am, great. And if they can't accept me for who I am, that's also great. That's their opinion. I'm not trying to change it. I don't have to defend me.
Right. I get
If
it.
the other person has an opinion, that's their perspective. I respect it. That's fine. That's what they want. That's what they expect. Great. But I'm not living my life to meet their expectations. I'm living life to meet my own.
Correct.
Because I love being me and it's easy being me. And you know what? It's hard being someone that's not me. And I did that for years and years and years. And it's as they say, why be the second rate version of someone else when you can be the best version of yourself? And when you were talking, you sounded like a very bubbly person when you were describing, when you didn't have your phone on you. And then I could feel the anxiety that this is creating. So ask yourself, which is the life you wish to lead? But don't do this. Don't oscillate from side to side like a pendulum. Stick to your position, whatever that position may be.
Right. I'm going to do
You're an
that.
amazing human being, and that's what the world needs to see.
True. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sahil. Yes. I think I'm going to live by what you just said.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Tabassum. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Okay, so I don't see a lot of questions, but I do have one question which I would like to ask before we move on. And the question that came to me was somebody who couldn't attend today's session. So I'm just going to ask you that. Just give me a sec. So this person, he is saying there are a lot of external influences on my day or in my day. Example, my boss, my family, my friends, etc. How do I follow your rituals while minimizing these influences? Uh, okay. Uh, could you hear me?
Yep, I heard you.
Okay, awesome. So I think you can respond to this. Did you get the question though?
Yep. So look, in work, I always say that there are, I have two expectations in life.
Hmm.
One is that people trust and respect each other. Right? I think that's very important. I think that as society in the world, we should trust and respect each other. That's one expectation. And the only other expectation I have is of a job profile, right? So this person who has a boss, if you've been hired to do something, let's say accounting, the
Mhm.
expectation is that you can do accounting, right? I mean, if you then can't do accounting, then that's not a very good situation.
Yes.
So what is your role in the company? I think I always find that it's very important to have communication because a lot of challenges occur with the lack of communication. So what
Right.
is your role in the company? And
Mm,
let's make sure that the boss and you are aware and that you are doing that.
mm,
Right?
mm.
Now, when the expectations are not in line with what your job profile is, it just may be a conversation to have that, maybe you can say, I'm happy to do this, or I'm happy to try or look into it, or whatever it might be. Um, but let's just be very clear that is it part or is it part not?
Mm.
Is it an additional responsibility you wish to give me? I'm happy to take that on. But
Right.
what you're talking about is expectations, right? Ultimately, it's coming down to expectations. A lot of people
Right.
have expectations of me,
Yes.
my family members, my wife, my kids.
Mm,
But expectations, at a very high level, is it repels people, like it pushes them apart.
right.
Okay, whereas acceptance brings them together,
Mm,
right? So when I expect my wife to do something, I'm actually pushing her away because what if she does not want to do it? And the same goes the other way. If she's expecting something of me and I don't wish to do it, it's going to push us away. But when I accept or she accepts or we accept others and they accept us, it's beautiful.
yes. Agreed.
So when someone has expectations of you, how about having that communication that I love you, and or as my boss, I want to make sure that I am a great employee or whatever it is. But these expectations are putting a lot of pressure, and
Mm,
this is what I'm capable of doing. This is what I enjoy doing. I just want to share that because I feel that it's better that we understand that, and again, I focus on the marriage part, that we're two individuals, right? We're not one. And maybe
yes.
you like to go to the movies, maybe I like to go bowling, and we don't have to do everything together.
Together,
So
exactly.
you go to the movie and I'll go bowling, it's fine.
We do that a lot.
But communicate the same, because it's not about just doing your own thing. It's
Right.
about making sure that you're constantly connecting and communicating, because what happens over time, and I refer to this as the 1 degree shift.
Mm,
A 1 degree shift at the center of a circle is very close, but as you go further and further apart, it gets wider, right? And if you launch a rocket aiming for the moon and you miss it by 1 degree, you actually miss it by almost twice its diameter.
correct.
So what happens over time is that you start distancing when you're not
Right.
communicating. So
Mm,
your expectations, they just keep building up. Everyone's disappointed because no one's meeting each other's expectations, and distance starts to grow. And the next thing you know, you're like, oh my God, my marriage is really bad. Or, oh my God, I hate my job. Or, whatever else it might be that expectations is doing. But
right.
by voicing it, by communicating it, and by accepting each other, all of a sudden that pressure goes off. You're more relaxed, you're being you. And it's just a lovely way to live.
That's perfect. That's amazing. Well, I think we unfortunately we need to end our session here. I would really like to say thank you so much, Sahil, for sharing your fantastic insights and expertise for our audience. And finally, to our audience, our listeners, for participation. We do hope the information that was presented today will assist you in better handling and overcoming the challenges which you may be facing and allow you to be better prepared for any opportunities that may arise. Would like to say thank you all for attending. And with this, we end our webinar for now, for today, and have a great day. Remember, we all are responsible. Thank you very much.
So Farzana, before we wrap up, I just have one thing as a gift.
You know what?
audience.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yes, please go ahead.
So I've got a complimentary Break Free Foundation course for all of you. So you can just sign up. You go to the breakfreebook.com/CME for Coach Middle East, and you just type in your email and you're gonna sign up. It's complimentary. It's the foundation course of this methodology that we just spoke about. You'll get a set of 5 videos over 5 weeks, which I hope can help you on your journey to break free and become the best version of yourself. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry about this, but yeah, this is something which I have actually done, and it is amazing. So for whoever would like to know exactly where you go from here, like after the webinar, this is where you should be looking at. So thank you so much, Sahil, for reminding me. And yeah, if you guys can actually sign up for this wonderful foundation course, that'll be great. And I think for now, this is all we have for everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you are taking a lot of nuggets from today. I know I have. And Sahil, again, thank you very much. Coast Middle East, thank you so much. I think it was a wonderful evening. That's all from us. Goodbye for now. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Sahil. That was wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. It was absolutely amazing. Thank you, Farzana, for having such an amazing guest on. Alhamdulillah. And we'll share the recording soon on YouTube.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
Everybody, bye.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.